Gentlemen, it is 6:30, so we will go ahead and call this meeting of the Alpharetta City Council together. I'll note for the record, all members of council are present and accounted for this evening, and as always, we begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you're able, please stand and join us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And this evening, we get the honor of starting off with a proclamation. Planning Commission Service Award and proclamation for Mr. Larry Addig. So, Mr. Addig, if you and your family will come on down, please.
I just want to congratulate Larry on his service to the city. He's just done an incredible job with the Planning Commission. I can't think of anybody I've worked with as much vision and the input and the creativity that you brought to the board. And you also were so good working with staff, because we don't always agree on everything, but you always would listen and provide excellent input. So thank you.
Thank you.
And I have to say, I was surprised to see you were stepping down, quite frankly. You did such a great job, and I know you were dedicated to it. So it was a bit of a surprise. Yeah?
It's been a pleasure working with you. The years I've been here, you've always been a good friend. Give me some good insight and let me know from time to time if I was going the wrong way. And I appreciate that. I really do. It's been great to know you and Marta. So thank you. Wish you the best in your next chapter.
And he would definitely tell us when we're going the wrong way. Yes, that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Well, first of all, I want to thank Councilman Donald Mitchell for appointing me to this position. He's a very brave person for doing that. And, I moved here about 44 years ago, and I arrived with 4 horses and 2 ponies. And I would have never dreamed that I'd be standing here tonight after that many years. Alpharetta's gone through a lot of changes. When I came here, it was like 3,000 people, and the city was a bustling little farm town. And then we went through the phase of when the mall came, everything just kind of died. And so I was looking back to the day, I found some notes from original Downtown Alpharetta Business Association. And some of our goals were that we were going to try and revitalize downtown and bring in more commercial, because the downtown, it had just dried up. And that we wanted to have more events to bring people downtown, and we wanted to have a grand hotel. And so here we are, this many years later, and I think that we've accomplished a lot of that. I feel like now, after this time, it's time for me to step down and let someone else take over and share their vision. I really believe that I was here for the glory years, the last 10 to 12 years. All of those things, the city hall, the city center, all the mixed-use developments and stuff that we have are the things that I really wanted to see, and I feel so fortunate to be able to be a part of that. So even though I'm stepping down, I'll still continue to be working with the city, doing things that I want to see happen. I won't always be at all the meetings and stuff, but I still have vision for a lot of that. And I want to give a special thanks to Kathy and Michael, Eric, Ellie, and Lauren for their hard work in putting these things together, because I don't think anybody realizes how much work that they do to put these packages together for us, because there's a lot of details that have to be done. And so they've made the job very easy for us. So I do appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity to be here. And I still love Alpharetta. I will always love Alpharetta, and do everything I can to make it be a great place. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And I know it must be rewarding to look outside the city center and see the vision that you had so long ago actually come to fruition.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for making that possible.
Thank you.
So as a bit of recognition for this, we'll be reading a proclamation by the mayor and city council of the city of Alpharetta, Georgia, for Larry Addick. Whereas Larry Addick is a longtime resident of the city of Alpharetta, he and his wife Margot planted roots in Alpharetta during 1978, and ever since he has been a lover and an ambassador for our wonderful city. Whereas Larry Addick and his wife Margot are known for the beautiful garden at their home, which features hundreds of species of plants, trees, vegetables, and hundreds of gorgeous hydrangeas. The couple was even featured on an episode of the PBS Emmy Award-winning show, Growing a Greener World. Whereas Larry Addick, as an Alpharetta entrepreneur, has owned and operated several businesses to serve our community: State Bridge Stables, Village Coffee House, Nature's Rainbow Flower Shop, and Nature's Veranda Container Gardens. Whereas Larry Addick was one of the founders of the downtown Alpharetta Farmers Market and has been a major contributor for the growth and success of the market. During the first season, there were only 7 booths in one small area downtown. Now the farmers market showcases over 100 local vendors and sprawls throughout the entire Alpharetta city center. Whereas Larry Addick joined with other downtown business owners in 1993 to create the Downtown Alpharetta Business Association, which connected downtown businesses at the time when North Point Mall first opened. In 2004, the Downtown Alpharetta Trade Association was formed, and Mr. Addick served as a founding member and president. Mr. Addick also served on the board of directors for the Alpharetta Business Association. Whereas Larry Addick served on the City of Alpharetta's Planning Commission for the past 8 years, Mr. Addick has been and continues to be an advocate for the City of Alpharetta, especially in the downtown. Additionally, Mr. Addick served as a member of the 2030 Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee, and he has been an integral part of planning and development of the Alpharetta City Center and the 2003 Alpharetta Downtown Master Plan. Throughout the planning process, Mr. Addick voiced his opinion that downtown should have a water feature, beautiful landscaping, and create a place for local businesses to thrive, all of which was brought to life and is enjoyed by our residents daily. Now, therefore, we, the mayor and city council of the city of Alpharetta, do hereby thank Larry Addick for his tireless support and service to our city. We wish him continued success, and we are proud to have him as part of our community. So proclaimed this 28th day of March 2022. Absolutely. You lost track. You were so busy doing them.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
Thanks again. Thanks, Dan. Thank you very much. Thanks, Kat.
Thank you.
So the next item up on our agenda this evening is consent agenda. Consent agenda consists of only one item, and that is the council meeting minutes from the meeting of March 21st, 2022. Is there anything that anyone would like to remove from the consent agenda? Seeing none, I'll call for a motion.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion by Councilman Mitchell, a second by Councilman Hypes. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please vote yes. Otherwise, vote no. And it does pass unanimously. Mayor Pro Tem Merkel abstained because he was not present last week. So we'll move on to the next item. Next section will be partnership updates, and we are pleased to see the team from Marta here this evening for an update on Marta Georgia 400 proposals.
Good evening. I'm Frida Hardage. I think I know most of you, but I actually am elected, or appointed, I think is the right word, appointed by the 6 mayors of North Fulton to be the representative for North Fulton on the Marta board. So I'm very fortunate this evening to bring the A-team from Marta. So as soon as I sit down, you'll hear the good story. But I want to introduce Marcus Arnold, who's going to give a project background and where we are right now on the status of the program. He's the project manager of planning for Marta. And then we have Jacob Vallow, who will follow up as the Senior Director of Transit-Oriented Development and give you an update on that. And then we'll follow back up with Colleen Kernan, who is going to talk about funding strategies. We have to pay attention to that part, funding strategies. And she's our Senior Director of Government and Community Affairs. So I look forward to any discussion we have after this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, and thank you again for allowing us to give an update on the Georgia 400 BRT project. So as you mentioned, we'll be giving a little bit of project overview and status of the project. Also, too, we'll be providing some preliminary concepts of stations that we've developed. Also, too, we'll talk a little bit about transit-oriented development and opportunities that may be available for that along the stations for the project. And funding strategy, we started to identify some potential funding opportunities as well for discussion. So just a little bit, again, I'm the project manager for the project for Marta, and have worked on quite a bit of different transit projects here locally as well as other parts of the region. So our team will be giving some overview and background on some of the elements of the project. I do also, too, want to introduce our chief as well, our chief of capital programs and expansion and innovation, Manjeet Ranu, who is here, as well as Emily Ritzler, who some of you may recognize, who's been on the project for quite a bit. She's with leading our consultant team for WSP as well. And WSP, again, they're bringing some additional national expertise as it relates to transit expansion projects. So just a little bit of a summary of the project. We're looking at 12 miles of bus rapid transit that will connect into the North Springs Marta Rail Station. And really the purpose is to provide rapid and reliable service to North Fulton County and the communities along the corridor. And we're really looking at introducing attractive amenities and efficiencies to the project. So fast and frequent service that we're looking at. And also, too, utilizing, as some of you may be aware, that the state of Georgia has committed $100 million towards providing elements of the project that we'll talk about in more detail. And then finally, we'll be going into some of our activities to date as well as next steps on the project. So this just presents a timeline. Again, the project has been looked at probably for the last 20 years or so, more at a conceptual level, at a regional level initially, and then drilling down to more of a corridor planning, alternatives analysis for the project. And so in 2018, the Marta board adopted bus rapid transit as a locally preferred alternative. And essentially that's to provide service, again, from North Springs up to Windward Parkway. We're currently coordinating a bid, as you're aware, Georgia Department of Transportation has been working towards the Express Lanes project as well. So Marta has been in coordination with GDOT on that, and we continue to work on project development as we look towards implementing the project. So the status, the GDOT was developing a procurement for the project for their express lanes that got delayed in August of last year. Now GDOT has identified a new schedule to re-procure for the developer, and we're currently working with GDOT as that relates to our timeline as well. But they're really looking at, as far as the express lanes and the BRT would be operated along the express lanes, and GDOT has identified station area bulb outs that they're including as part of their design. And so the team is going to continue to work through various analysis, including environmental analysis for areas outside of the GDOT right-of-way, as well as conceptual design for the stations as well. So quite a bit of activities going on currently, as we continue to progress the project forward. And this just provides a procurement schedule. This is GDOT's updated procurement schedule. So the team is working through additional design activities and coordination as they're looking to release an RFP in the September timeframe of this year. And so a lot of the work that we'll be doing will help influence and be coordinated as part of that as well, as they're looking to select their developer in August of 2023. So station concepts. So the team has developed some concepts for potential station locations. These are the 5 stations that we're looking at. The concepts that we've developed to date primarily focuses on the North Point Mall location. And this is, again, just conceptual design elements. As we further do additional design and analysis, we'll be looking at more details as far as the specific features and things, but this is just an element to help communicate what the stations could look like. And so, as I mentioned, part of the project, mostly we're looking at inline stations along the corridor. Of course, at North Springs, we're connecting to our existing Marta rail station, and at Windward Parkway would be an offline station that would require an additional ramp to get access to the existing Marta Park and Ride lot that's currently there today. And these are just some, like I said, conceptual elements. As you can see, this is the bus rapid transit vehicle that would be within the express lanes, and this is stations that we're looking at that have features to actually connect the station with pedestrian features across the expressway to adjacent property on the other side. And this is just an example of a vertical element that our team has designed currently and continue to evolve as we're looking. Again, just the concept of the pedestrian walkway to help, give the passengers a more friendly experience, as, obviously with the station being in the middle of the expressway, elements to help reduce noise and also to provide more aesthetic features for the station as well. And finally, this is a vertical design element that the team has identified as well. Once you get on the other side of the State Route 400, how passengers can connect up to the station and up to the pedestrian access to the station as well. So with that, I would like to hand it off to Jacob Vallow to talk about the economic development and transit-oriented development opportunities. Thank you.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. I started my career at Heinz Interests in 1999 after graduate school, and Heinz had a project called Deerfield, which was at the time pretty pioneering for the North Fulton submarket. And now we're sitting here where it's almost 30 million square feet of office space. So it's amazing to hear Larry talk about the growth in this corridor, but it truly has been remarkable. Having spent my entire career in institutional real estate in various capacities, and watched Avalon be developed and the city work through community development, whether it's green space and other things, I'm excited to be here with you all to talk about a new opportunity to accelerate the vision of the city. So the work that I do at Marta is alongside our transit, my transit colleagues, but it's just as integral, because what we do is we like to integrate the goals and objectives of the various jurisdictions into the work that we're doing on the transit side. Next slide, please. So the things that we're focused on is ensuring that the work that we're doing in the transit investment is actually additive to the work that you all are doing on a daily basis to advance the city. Whether it's economic development goals or other community development goals, we are here to really sync up with the work that you're doing and to advance it. So a couple of things we've done initially is we looked at the existing holdings that the city has in this particular corridor around these 3 particular stations, and we want to understand more from you. This is more of an open dialogue. How could the work that we're doing enhance some of the investments that the taxpayers of Alpharetta have made already? The density, obviously, the more density around our proposed stations helps our transit project from a ridership perspective and a revenue perspective. So we're obviously focused on the density conversation as well. Many of you may know the Windward Parkway, we do own 12 acres at that location. And we're very focused in discussions with Trademark at North Point Mall and with Gwinnett Tech as well at Old Milton Parkway. So just to, I'm sure you all know this, but because this is a public presentation, Marta does not control the use or density. It's something that we always have to sort of be upfront with, because sometimes it's confusing in the sense that, when we're talking about transit-oriented development on our property, it's something that you all control. And so we're really looking for guidance from the council and mayor on the types of density and the uses that you would desire at these proposed transit-oriented developments locations. So these are the three station properties. As I mentioned, the Windward Parkway location is currently owned by Marta. This is a park and ride adjacent to the KDC development just to the east. And again, we actually had a ULI, Urban Land Institute, ULI MTAP study done last year, and they came up with some various schemes. But there's some pretty exciting things to begin to envision at that location in conjunction with the transit component. On the Old Milton Parkway intersection, we did highlight the entire 25 acres there that the State Properties Commission controlled. And we've had a preliminary conversation with the president of Gwinnett Tech about the goals and the vision for growth of that campus, and would love to integrate our work into their work and to the vision with the city. And finally, we've met with the North Point Mall team on numerous occasions, as well as spoken to the investor and the owner, New York Life of North Point Mall, and they're looking for ways to integrate our investment into North Point Mall to accelerate that and make it more competitive for office tenants or whatever the uses may be in the future. This was our, this is actually an image that was in the zoning application that Trademark provided to us and gave us permission to use. We dropped in the proposed Georgia 400 BRT station just in the top right-hand corner, if you can see that. So pretty exciting to be able to connect and get a lot of the folks who work at this facility every day, get them on the transit system and out of their cars. So it's another image, obviously across the street from Avalon, and this was the ULI MTAP study that I referenced. Those are two office buildings with a soccer field in the middle and two parking decks with KDC's project in the foreground. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, Mayor Gilvin, council members, thanks so much for having us tonight. So we're excited about the opportunities here and the opportunity for really leveraging the investment that GDOT and I guess the federal government in terms of the infra grant will be making on Georgia 400 in terms of being able to deliver a high capacity transit that can be reliable for getting people, folks up here down to the airport, and access for all the companies that are up here to have people coming and visiting, as well as for the small businesses in North Fulton County to have access to more of the workforce throughout the region. So there's sort of the three parts of the project. So there's the phase one, which is getting the right of way, phase two, which is the building the stations and the amenities, and then the three, the ongoing operations and maintenance. So we have two of those covered, and we're missing the middle piece, which is the puzzle that I'll tell you a little bit about. So as my colleagues said, the GDOT project is moving forward, and as part of House Bill 930 that the legislature passed in 2018 that created the Atlanta Region Transit Link Authority, there's a $100 million bonds issued for support of this project. And so essentially, the entirety of that has gone into acquiring the right-of-way and making sure that the communications and the lighting and all of that can happen. So that's all taken care of, so it'll be there for whenever we get to it, whether it's right, alongside the development of the express lanes or further down the road. But that part is a check mark. The middle part, which is the station structures, the actual lights, the shelters, stuff that Marcus showed you in those images, the elevators and the stairs and the park and rides, that's what we're trying to figure out. That's the gap that we're trying to cover. So that's somewhere in the neighborhood of 200 million to 325 million. So here are, we'll go through in a little bit more detail the various pots of money that we have that can help fill those gaps. So a lot of times people will be like, Marta, what are you going to do with the $1 billion from the federal infrastructure bill? And that makes it seem a lot easier than it's going to be. So while we have a lot more options and a lot more flexibility, the formula funding that Marta gets, which primarily goes to our state of good repair, so keeping the assets that we have up to date and in good order, will be, for those 5 years, about $150 million more than we have gotten in the past. So it's like not really gonna solve this particular problem. We have a lot more competitive grants and much bigger pots of funding in the competitive federal grants. And then there are federal highway funds that are much more flexible than they used to be. So we have the competitive grants. So the Small Starts program is a federal transit administration program that primarily funds expansion projects like this. So we can get up to any project, $400 million or less can qualify, and we can get up to $150 million of federal funding under that program. There are two different ways that we can access Federal Highway Administration funds. The first is GDOT gets formula funds every year from the Federal Highway Administration. And those, so there's the Surface Transportation Block Grant money, there's the Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality money, there's the National Highway, I can't remember what the P stands for something, program, and there's a new bucket called carbon reduction. And so when Congress passed the infrastructure bill, they really were thinking of projects like, they had a project like the Georgia 400 BRT in mind when they created this new bucket of funding. It's really to find ways to reduce people driving in single occupancy vehicles. There are also federal highway funds that go through the Atlanta Regional Commission, and so they can flex money as we request it. There's the Surface Transportation Block Grant and the CMAQ, the Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality funds. I think I actually have slides on all. I should have. Okay, so we talked about Small Starts. We talked about those. Talked about those. Oh, so this. Sorry, I should have said. I should have stopped and said. These are statewide numbers on this, but you can just sort of see the scale at which the GDOT, you know, of course they're dealing with statewide, but you know, just the carbon reduction bucket alone, this new bucket of money that we haven't had before is $40 million annually over 5 years. And so the Congress just passed the FY22 appropriations, so it's like we are now in business with that program. The amounts that ARC has that they can flex is a little bit smaller. Those awards are usually between $1 and $5 million a year. And then the statewide totals are about $80 and $70 million a year. We have a couple of new state funds, though, that are an interesting opportunity. So in addition to the bonds that the state issued originally, the $100 million that we talked about, there's a pretty new source of funding, which is the Transit Trust Fund. This is the new fee that is assessed on Uber and Lyft trips of 50 cents a fee, which is dedicated for transit. So that flows, gets appropriated to GDOT, and GDOT spends it on transit. So we can go ask for that money. The fiscal note on that had it going up to about $45 million annually. Right now it's at about $25 million due to COVID. And then there's also the Transportation Trust Fund, and so up to 10% of that can go to transit, and that's funded by the hotel motel tax, the heavy duty vehicle fees, and the electric vehicle fees. So that also isn't going to solve the problem all by itself, but it's an important buckets that for which we might be able to draw from. We wanted to just show you, we have 3 examples of how other agencies have layered together a number of buckets of funding to get to the amount that they needed. So this is a project in Seattle, and you can see that it's a pretty wide mix of federal, state, and local funds that got them to the $33 million for that project. Similarly, this is a project in St. Paul, Minnesota, where they relied heavily on federal funds, but then also layered in state and local funds to get to the $420 million. And then here's the biggest ticket In Dallas at DART, they relied heavily on federal funds, but also $87.7 million in local funds to get to their $1.14 billion to make the Silver Line go. And we've begun doing that a little bit in this region as well. Here are a couple of examples. As you might be aware, the city of Roswell decided that they wanted the interchange at Holcomb Bridge Road as part of the Express Lanes project redone, so they contributed $15 million to make that happen. Marta got its first appropriation from the Transit Trust Fund last year, which will help get the Bankhead Station platform extension done. And then one that you're probably the most familiar with is that the North Fulton CID and ARC and GDOT, and of course the city of Alpharetta came together to make the Encore Parkway improvements happen. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Marcus, and we're all happy to answer any questions or entertain any discussion that y'all want to have. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
All right, just wanted to, had a couple slides just to wrap up. Again, we really are in the process of really trying to identify opportunities for transit-oriented development, which will help support the economic growth as well as access and increase ridership to make the project successful as it can be along that corridor. Also, too, just the high quality of design, and we'll continue to identify elements to enhance stations and looking at different design treatments and materials and things in order to really provide a sense of place for folks who are taking the transit. And then funding paths, as Colleen had mentioned, continuing to identify funding opportunities that become available as you understand that as the additional buckets of money become available for the project. Just a little bit of upcoming coordination. Again, we want to continue the conversation about understanding and discussing funding opportunities and commitments that may be available. Also, too, we're looking to develop a policy working group and have individuals and representatives along the corridor, engage in more detail as far as the project as it advances, and then continue coordination with the GDOT's express lanes. And we'll continue to do additional analysis as well as design of the stations and the supportive amenities, and then continuing to do other detailed analysis as part of the project. So with that, I know it was a lot of information, but thank you again, and welcome any questions you may have for me or the project.
Councilman Hypes.
First and foremost, thank you for this update. I get lots of questions about what's going on and what's happening, and I've had an occasion to see Frida here and there, and I so much appreciate all of you coming here to give us this information and an update and maybe take a couple of questions. One of my questions is, at the 3 locations along 400, and I'm specifically thinking about the Old Milton Parkway there nearby the Gwinnett Tech. To what degree is Marta and the city working together, and you're seeking input from the city about what that will ultimately look like? Because that is the front door coming up 400. That is our front door to downtown Alpharetta. And it looks one way with trees there or some vegetation, and it's going to look completely different if it's designed in such a fashion that it's in your mind's eye, but we don't know what it looks like. So what's the collaboration look like there?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question, and we definitely want to continue the conversation. Old Milton Parkway in particular is one station that we're in the kind of early phases of designing that station and getting that station up to a design level as well. So definitely want to continue to coordinate with you all at the city to get your input, get feedback as well. I don't know, Jacob has any input as it relates to, I know one element is going to be how the station connects from the inline station over to adjacent and potential opportunities for development as well. So definitely want to continue to have those conversations, and again, any opportunities to have someone become available and participate on our policy working group will be a good opportunity as well.
Appreciate hearing that we can get our input in there, and I mean, such a major statement getting off at either Haynesbridge or Old Milton Parkway coming into Alpharetta. First impressions are, first impressions. Second sort of unrelated question. not sure to whom to address this. In terms of funding sources, I know Marta does a good job of putting advertising on the sides of buses and trains and things of that nature, and it's a revenue source. Have you given thoughts on what's off limits for, say, bridges that go across 400 that have MARTA on it, whether or not there would be any type of, or even along the inline stations, about limitations? Again, going to the aesthetics of the city in lieu of maybe a minor revenue source for advertising. Have you thought about those things, or?
Yeah, I mean, our conclusion, I mean, that would be really around the edges, like that's not gonna fill a significant part of the gap, but I think where there's perhaps more opportunity is in, I know y'all have done a great job with your tax allocation districts, special services districts is another more local way. I mean, I think if there was we would be open to it if you are, but that's not an avenue that we're pursuing at this time.
As opposed to being open to it, I was rather hoping that, to forego anything of that nature.
Wouldn't do it unless you really wanted to.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but those are just the two minor things I wanted to ask while y'all were here, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Councilman Mitchell?
I was going to add a couple of things. I just want to make it clear that, this is truly a partnership, so it's supposed to be collaborative. So the design standards that the city has and the things that the city is sensitive to absolutely is part of the process to make sure that we deliver as fiduciaries the things that you want in this investment for the city.
What he's saying is if you don't like our perforated metal drawings, we can probably push a button and it can be stacked stone. We understand that aesthetics,
Thank God.
It was just like the purpose of those drawings were so you could get a better idea of what the stations could look and feel like how a person would use them and access, not that was what we're going to build.
Yeah, no, I think the point is it's supposed to be a collaboration. So, we work with Kathy and her team and others and make sure that it's integrated into y'all's vision of what you want to see. So, thank you.
Councilman Mitchell?
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for coming up here. I know a lot of our citizens look forward to the commute either in town or folks who are commuting out of town for the jobs here. And so for some folks in our city, that can't happen quick enough. I got to admit, when I saw the ultra modern, I can see that at Sandy Springs because they're doing a lot of glass and metal and stuff. I absolutely cannot see that in Alpharetta. I know that we've gone out to the planning conferences and in Arizona, we've looked at how the transit to the different communities have taken on the character, and even like Palo Alto, each area has a different flavor that reflects the community. And so I'm really hoping that we can do. We've spent a lot of money as a council and as a city. We spent over $35 million on the city hall to make sure it had classic architecture with to create kind of that timeless feel. And I think a lot of our residents relate to that because when they come out of the ultra modern Atlanta and they come here, it's kind of like they want to feel at home and they want to feel comforted by more classic architecture, I think. And our citizens have responded real well to the overall design of our city center and things like that. So I'm hoping we can collaborate and work together on that to kind of pick up the flavor of Alpharetta. And I just appreciate y'all being here and seeking our input, and we look forward to working with you.
Thank you so much.
You.
Councilman Dorito?
Thank you, Mayor. I too would like to echo the council's appreciation for you coming here this evening to speak to us and give us some information that is fairly new to me. I just joined the council back in January, so if I'm asking some questions that are a little bit off base, just let me know that if it's been covered before. First and foremost, the Milton Station, just to add on to Councilman Hype's and Councilman Mitchell's concerns about aesthetics. That happens to be a very, I believe, sensitive area of the city. We do have a housing project, which I actually live in walking distance to this site. I know my neighbors in my area of the city have expressed concern as to what a future MARTA station would look like there. So I appreciate the fact that you want to collaborate with the city, and I just want to bring that to your attention. I know things can be done to have good buffers and all that good stuff, but that's certainly going to be one station at least that we have to be a little bit more sensitive to because of the residential neighborhoods that abut that. Is there any consideration by MARTA at this point, even in conceptual, to extend this further north? If I know it's going to take some time to actually see it come to fruition, but is there a thought that this would eventually go further north? The bus rapid?
Do you have friends in Forsyth?
No, I'm
I
just-
mean, honestly.
Let me tell you why I'm asking a question, okay? I'm asking a question because, and it's not just an issue here in Alpharetta, but I'll call it affordable housing, not low income. I'm talking affordable housing for young business professionals, that sort of thing. You know, today when you look at the growth in Alpharetta and the type of housing we have today, and you talk about property values, previous councils and planning commissions and everyone that participated in basically designing the city the way we're seeing it today has created a very big success story and has caused the increase of our home values, okay, which is a great thing. But it also has limited the ability for us to provide to the younger professionals, you know, a housing element. So realistically, those housing components might be further north of us. So mobility becomes a really important improvement to be able to attract those workers to be able to work here and live close enough to accommodate the businesses that have invested their money to come and work here in Alpharetta. So that's why I asked the question.
I think while you have the planning too, just keep in mind that TOD will also look at affordable housing as a part of that, depending on density and all the stuff that we would have to work with the city on. But you could incorporate affordable housing, which is a part of the TOD plans usually, to try to incorporate that. It won't address all of the issues that you have. But the real reason I stood up here was just to remind you, this is small potatoes in comparison with what we're talking about. But 2 or 3 years ago, Councilman Merkel and myself in the planning department worked with the CID in the city to come up with a plan for how you wanted your bus stations to look for a MARTA, bus stops. And there's a standard in place for that. And we made sure yours looked much different than you would if you drove to any other part of MARTA and looked at our station. So I think that you can look at that in the same way that you would look at designing what looks the future of whatever you need it to look like for the city here. And it would look probably different in Roswell, and it definitely would look different in Sandy Springs, but I just want you to feel assured that we will work with you on that, because that's what we want. We want everybody to be comfortable and feel good about what it needs to look like for your area.
Is there any thought given to the bus rapid transit lanes that are coming down the center of 400, it looks like, at least the conceptual design, that one day could be converted to light rail or rail system, extension of North Springs Station?
I mean, with enough money, anything is possible.
No, has that been discussed by GDOT at all, or MARTA?
When House Bill 930 was passed in 2018 and allowed for an additional referendum to be levied in Fulton County, it's 0.2 cents. Part of that deal was it would not be used for any type of rail, thus bus rapid transit is the project for this corridor. However, you know, it's certainly possible in the scheme of things that, you know, the right-of-way is there, you know, it's not impossible. And I did want to address your question about is it possible that it could go further north than Windward Parkway? And the short answer is yes. There are a few policy things that have happened recently which make that even more possible, which is, of course, that Forsyth County joined the Atlanta Regional Commission region, and so now they have the ability to levy a sales tax to support transit. And as you may be aware, their county manager is the former state legislator who wrote the House Bill 930 bill. So we've had a few preliminary conversations with him, and, you know, there's some interest in Forsyth County.
And this is more of a, I guess, a suggestion, or I'm sure you've talked about this. The stations themselves, you know, thinking progressively as far as, you know, the so-called amenities that could be built in these stations, electric plug-in stations for vehicles, bicycle racks, things to help improve mobility in the city, and then maybe mitigate the amount of cars on our streets would be a good thing to think of into the design concept that you come up with. So.
But we do have electric charging stations at North Spring Station, so, and actually at Windward Parkway as well. So yes, of course, that's something that we're thinking about. And, you know, it's really the jurisdiction, you know, the city of Alpharetta is responsible, you know, you all are doing a great job on trails and greenways and bike lanes. So that's, you know, absolutely bike racks are a part of all of our amenities. But also, there's one other thing I was going to say about that. The Fulton County Transit Master Plan also identified arterial rapid transit for the Old Milton Parkway corridor, so that would help the east-west connectivity, and also on Holcomb Ridge Road.
This is exciting stuff, and I appreciate you being here and presenting your vision. Thank you.
Thanks.
Councilman Bond.
Hi, thanks for being here. Sorry to belabor the point, but HB 930, I know big discussion at the time from Mayor Belle at the time was how would the design guidelines process work. So I know we would work together and try, you know, to have a good vision of what the stations and the rail things that we would see. But I believe, and I couldn't find it, but I believe that it would have to go through like our design guidelines. So whether that be a DRB or planning commission or that kind of thing for the buildings. Is that what we're looking at here, or more kind of off
I mean, I can say that recently in the city of Atlanta with the Summer Hill BRT bus stations, we just took that through the city of Atlanta's design review process. So yes, that would be perfect. Y'all have the final say on that being a go.
And then for the funding of phase 2, what kind of discussions or thoughts would to bringing in the county into that for their funds or
Thank you. Sure. Thank you for, I did kind of skip through that part, but yes, I think, you know, if y'all want to continue this conversation and really, so knowing what the GDOT timeline is, I think the very next step is to pull in Commissioner Hasman, Commissioner Ellis, and the County Manager, Dick Anderson, to talk about, you know, what you'd like to see and how they can and should participate.
I'm just trying, because the number is 200 to 325, so that's a pretty broad range. So
well, stacked stone costs a lot of money.
I know. You open that up to Councilmember Mitchell, so
there's a broad number in there because we know who we're working with.
Which scares me for my next question when I ask about the cost of each station. I think we just increased it, but what I was getting at is what kind of formulas are we looking at for the cities? Because, I mean, we have one in Roswell. Sandy Springs already has one under our current tax that we had. Roswell has one, and then 3 is proposed in Alpharetta, so I'm hoping the lion's share of the local cost doesn't come to Alpharetta. It's because multiple cities will be using that. So what are you looking at as far as a formula for the local ask?
I'll say we've thought about it and we have some straw proposals, but we kind of, you know, we hadn't talked to you in a while, and we have 3 new council members here, so we really just wanted to provide the update and sort of take your temperature on where you are with your level of interest and, you know, enthusiasm for this project before we get to that level of conversation. But I think that will be a bigger group where we pull in county folks and the other cities and begin to have a real serious conversation about who does what.
Yeah, I think next step is putting us all in a room and seeing who blinks first. I will say it is exciting. North Point and the BRT station is great there, and I hope add to the catalyst that we're looking for in that area. Old Milton is another one that it's a big east-west connector, and so it really makes sense. So we'd love to see more about the incremental cost of the stations, and then also after the flagstone that Councilmember Mitchell added, but the stations, but also the lane design to get all the way up north there, so we can really take a look at it. And then go from there. Trying to see my notes on one more thing. No, I think that's it, but we would just love to kind of hear ideas on the formula on what you think that would look like for the local municipalities.
And please know, we just did this presentation to Roswell last week, and we are in Johns Creek
On Wednesday.
Wednesday. So, I mean, we're getting around.
That should be an interesting conversation in Johns Creek.
Well, I'll wear my battle gear as I go in, but it's important that everybody understand, hear the same message, have the opportunity to ask the questions that are important to you, and then from there, we come up with the plans by city as to how you want to approach it.
Frida, I'm glad you brought that up. So what you gave as an example for Roswell, that was just for the new bridge and the connection there. That wasn't for the station, correct?
Correct.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
We'll see you soon.
Any other questions from council? Councilman Mitchell.
You brought up Johns Creek, and that's always been, you're going to need armor, by the way. It's always been a concern is the influx of traffic, not only from Johns Creek. Where will those folks park to get on? And will there be a subsequent bus that parks them in Johns Creek and they get on and then they come to the station? Or the same with Forsyth County. You know, hopefully they do come on board and they do accept the challenge as well. But until then, we're the end of the road. So what we want to make sure doesn't happen is that we're just inundated with all these cars that we have to park, and we're perpetually left with these huge parking garages that will one day be obsolete. You know, can you address those issues as best you can?
I think we're sensitive, and you know, living here, I know exactly what you're saying. So we hope that we can come up with a resolution that incorporates them and lets them be more involved. I have seen more of a willingness recently, so maybe we can move a little forward in that direction and come up with a plan that would help with that whole east-west issue that we have with Johns Creek.
Thank you.
And just because you're asking for feedback, and I know several of your team have had more feedback from me than you'd ever want to hear, I would like to stress a couple of different things based on this. One, I am grateful that y'all have included the Old Milton. If you recall, our council did not support the current transit plan.
That's correct.
Because we were more focused on trying to make Marta BRT available at North Point and east-west connectivity with Johns Creek. And so I'm glad we've added that one. I'm a little concerned that it's on the west side of 400. I know why you're doing it there, I understand, but the challenge is we don't really want BRT going west because that doesn't really help Alpharetta and the congestion and connectivity. We need it to go to Johns Creek, which leads me into the second part is the challenge that has been proposed in the past is a sales tax, and that's the problem. It is selling people on raising the sales tax for Marta from where it is at 1 penny now with the level of service that North Fulton gets, and there's over 400,000 people in North Fulton. Sandy Springs north of there, almost the size of the city of Atlanta. Sandy Springs is the only one that really has any service for rapid transit.
That's correct.
And so raising the sales tax, which, and some of you probably heard this, but I want to reiterate it. Our residents already pay, based on the distribution formula, which is population, about $16 million every year. We're contributing our sales tax revenue towards Marta, and they're not getting that return. Not $16 million worth. And so to ask us to come out of pocket to cover the infrastructure costs included in this, I think is going to be a real challenge because you have to vote on a sales tax.
Well, you'll notice that the sales tax wasn't really even a
even
part.
Oh, I know, but
So that's not really the ask at this point. We have heard you loud and clear. That's not
Okay, well, good. I'm glad I brought it up because y'all didn't make it clear that it was off the table.
Well, it's
You-
creative.
You just didn't
local
mention
match.
it.
Gotta have some local match in there in order to get some of these federal funds that you need, but she offered you some other creative ways that you could possibly come up with a local match that wouldn't be a sales tax.
And I do appreciate that. So I'm glad I had this discussion because I wasn't aware that was out of consideration. I just knew you didn't bring it up.
Out, it's
But
just
we're not
over to the
pursuing
side.
it, right?
I understand. But the reason I say that is, once again, having had these discussions for a long time, I remember being at the Georgia Legislators' Senate Transportation Committee hearing when Mark Toro from Avalon reiterated that heavy rail demonstrates a 50% increase in the property values of commercial properties within a mile there. This isn't heavy rail, but it's pretty darn close. And so I would look to us to be creative, but also for Marta to be creative. I think the challenge has always been, it has in the past been a sales tax proposed when it's the commercial property owners along those corridors that have the vast benefit. And so I think that's the model we have to work towards is, based on sales, I follow them pretty closely for multifamily apartment housing in Metro Atlanta. They're selling for over $350,000 a unit in an area comparable to Alpharetta. That's a lot of money. And so I think there's probably an advantage somewhere in there. And if Marta is going to be the developer of I don't know what business model y'all use for your TOD, but if you are, you might want to look there for some.
No, I think we're in total alignment there. I mean, I think a special services district, which is how the Beltline closed there, they had about $100 million gap, and so they were like, we need to raise this. I mean, a special services district is so flexible. You can draw the line however you want. You can assess whatever mill you want. So, but that would be, Marta can't create a special services district, but we would be happy to work with y'all to figure out what would make sense, because I think you're right, Mayor Gilden, that's that value capture, letting the people who benefit the most from having the infrastructure investment pay for it, that makes sense to us. We'd love to explore that further.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And certainly look forward to getting it up here.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Seeing nothing else from council, that'll wrap up the Marta, Georgia 400 update, and we'll move on to the public hearing portion of tonight's meeting. Public portion, or the first item on the public hearing tonight will be item Z-22-01/V-22-03/Wexler/182 Marietta Street. Mr. Woodman, when you finish your drink of water, you have the floor.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The first item before you is a rezoning and variance request to allow for the construction of one single-family detached home. It's on 0.71 acres, and it is located in the downtown overlay. Rezoning is requested from C2 General Commercial to DTR Downtown Residential, and a variance is requested to reduce buffers. I have the location map on the overhead. Subject property is located at 182 Marietta Street, on the south side of Marietta Street, just west of Margene Way. Here's a street view of the property. The property is developed with a single-family detached home. It was converted to a contractor's office. This is the Sutton Service Appliance Repair. Surrounding properties are zoned C2 to the east and south, OP Office Professional to the west, and R8A, which is a single-family residential high-density development, townhome development to the north. Variance is requested to reduce the 50-foot undisturbed buffers required adjacent to commercial properties. In most cases, the non-residential property would provide the buffers, but since the applicant is actually rezoning the property from commercial to residential, that responsibility becomes the applicant's. Have a aerial map that will kind of give you an idea of the property. So this is the existing structure on the property. You can see there's actually some tree canopy on the south side of the property as well as the east and the west. The concern here would be the property to the south. That buffer would remain. That is property associated with the Alpharetta Beach Houses development. That applicant or that property owner has actually provided a letter of support for the applicant. Properties to the east and the west are currently being used. They've been converted, residential converted to commercial uses. Those properties could continue to operate as commercial uses, and they could also redevelop to other types of uses in the future, mixed use, single use, or they could ask for a similar type rezoning for residential, in which case the buffer wouldn't be required. The applicant did provide a site plan showing the home on the property. So this is the home here, oriented to Marietta Street. Home is 2 stories, approximately 5,000 square feet. There's a driveway on the east side of the property leading to a porte-cochere with the garage at the rear of the property. The front setback that's depicted on the site plan shows about a 40-foot front setback. There's about a 15-foot side setback for the home. The garage that's at the rear of the property's got an 8-foot side setback and a 22-foot setback from the rear property line. Those setbacks are much greater than what's allowed in that DTR zoning, which only requires a 10-foot front setback. There are some trees on the property. There are about 5 specimen-sized oaks in the front yard. However, they're all in poor condition. And our city arborist has reviewed that assessment provided by the applicant and does concur with that assessment. There are other trees that are identified on the property, and those are in good condition. And the applicant is intending to save the stand of trees along the west side of the property, as well as along the rear property line. This is an elevation that the applicant has provided. The elevation is showing the home in a neoclassical or Beaux-Arts style. This was shown to the city's downtown consultant, who did agree that it did comply with styles approved in the downtown. Of course, we reviewed this applicant's requests against the established criteria for rezoning and variance. I believe the zoning proposal is consistent with the vision of the downtown master plan and the comprehensive land use plan designation of the property. This does have a mixed-use future land use designation here, and within our mixed-use future land use designation, you can do a mix of uses on a property, or you can do a standalone commercial development or a standalone residential development, similar to what we've mainly seen along Thompson Street. Thompson Street is downtown live-work, so you could do office or residential, but we've seen that it's developed as mainly residential. With regard to the variance, the 50-foot application of the 50-foot undisturbed buffer requirement to the property would discourage residential development along Marietta Street. And that street already has a residential presence and feel. The whole north side of that street has developed as residential, and the south side of the street is yet to redevelop. This will be one of the first redevelopments that we'll see. And with that, if approved, we would recommend a condition that would absolve the properties to the east and west of any buffer requirements should those properties redevelop with commercial or mixed-use development. The applicant did provide 2 letters of support and indicated on their citizen participation plan that they mainly received positive feedback on the request. The city also received a letter of support from the property to the south, which is the Penhodge Alpharetta Beach House property. The commercial property owner to the west did have some concerns that the rezoning request could potentially impact their ability to redevelop in the future. Not quite sure if that revolves around the buffer requirement or potential alcohol distance requirements, but there's already residential development across the street from that site. This was shown to the public at the February 9th Community Zoning Information Meeting, and there were no public comments at that time. With that, staff is recommending approval of the applicant's requests, subject to 10 conditions, and I'll go through those. Condition 1 is related to the site plan specific approval. Approximately 0.71 acres shall be zoned DTR and limited to one single-family detached home. And then it outlines the Exhibit A, identifies Exhibit A site plan, site layout. Condition 2, home elevation shall be substantially similar to the submitted home elevation, labeled Exhibit B, this elevation. Final approval by the downtown consultant and DRB. Condition 3, home and garage shall maintain a minimum 20-foot front setback, 10-foot side setback, and 10-foot rear setback. And the purpose of that is there's some streetscape requirements here, so the site plan would need to potentially be altered slightly. They were already showing 40-foot front setback, so with a 20-foot minimum setback, that will give them a little bit of flexibility to move that around. It'll also give them a little flexibility to save the trees along the west and south property lines. Condition 4, landscape strip along Marietta Street shall be planted with shade trees as a continuation is what has been planted or designed in the downtown and outside of utilities, easements, and overhead utilities as approved by staff. Condition 5, a decorative low wall, metal fencing, or hedge with columns shall frame the front yard. Condition 6, a 10-foot planted buffer shall be provided along the east, south, and west property lines and planted with a mix of evergreen trees and shrubs. So this wouldn't be a complete elimination of the buffer requirement, just a reduction of the buffer requirement. And condition 6 goes on to say existing trees within the 10-foot buffers identified to be in good condition shall be saved with final approval by staff. Condition 7, property owner shall improve Marietta Street frontage with a 6-foot planter planted with street trees, 6-foot sidewalk, and decorative pedestrian lighting as approved by staff. Condition 8, property owner acknowledges that the redevelopment of the properties to the east and west with a commercial or mixed-use development shall not require a buffer adjacent to the subject property. Condition 9, home, accessory structures, and infiltration shall be positioned on the property to have the least impact to existing trees along the west and south property lines as approved by staff. In condition 10, fences and walls visible from the public right-of-way shall be decorative as approved by staff. Unfinished wood fences and decks shall not be visible from the street. And that concludes the presentation. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer those.
Mr. Woodman, if I could, I've got a question for you right quick based on the site plan.
Sure.
Just because we've talked so much about stormwater and drainage lately, I was curious about the drainage easement that goes through, I guess that's the northwest corner, right? Is there any drainage plan required on this parcel?
So this,
the larger footprint?
So this will be reviewed through an ENG, an individual lot residential land disturbance permit, and any of the requirements as part of that review will be, the applicant would have to meet. So if it triggers, I believe it's over 1,000 square foot of new impervious, there's certain requirements, over 5,000, over 4,999, there are additional requirements beyond that, and this would have to be subject to that.
Okay, because I was just curious, having been up and down Marietta Street, and I know across the street there is a creek. I don't really know where it goes when it goes south under Marietta Street there. So I just want to make sure that we're not negatively impacting without at least being thoughtful about what the impact is from this new development to the downstream on that creek specifically.
Yeah. So there are no creeks or stream buffers on this property. It's not impacting that. Our stormwater engineer has reviewed this request, and she did note this drainage easement, but there was no concern with regard to the proposal that the applicant had made here. We did let the applicant know, and I know that they're aware of these requirements that would potentially be placed on this property.
Just wanted to make sure, because I know that creek across the street actually, I was surprised to find that it goes north into the Innovation Academy property, into Mayfield Estates and that whole tributary area. So
Yep.
just wanted to make sure I asked the question while I had it. Any other questions from council on this item? Thank you, sir. Well done.
Welcome.
Would the applicant like to come forward?
Hello,
Hi.
I'm Andrew Wexler. This is Courtney Wexler.
Hi. Nice to see you guys.
If you would, just for the record,
Yes.
please state your name and address for the record.
My name's Courtney Wexler, and, well, we're under contract with the Suttons for the 182 Marietta Street. We don't own it yet.
Andrew Wexler.
That suffice.
Okay. So we really just want to rezone this property from C2 to DTR because we want to build our home on it. We have lived in Alpharetta. We met over 30 years ago at the University of Georgia and lived in Buckhead. Go Dogs. And then when we started having children, we were looking for a city that had a community feel, great school systems, all that jazz. So we moved ourselves up to Alpharetta. And we've lived in Harrington Falls for a long time. We sold our house. Well, let me backtrack a little bit. We've been looking for a piece of property to build a home that would suit our future needs about 7 or 8 years ago. And we lost out on some properties that did not become available, but I always feel like that's a blessing. But in May, we actually came across a piece of property that is in Crabapple, which is right outside of Kensington Farms, which we purchased. And we sold our house in Harrington Falls, and we were like, okay, well, we have to live somewhere while we build this property, while we build this home. So we ended up being in the right place at the right time and bought a townhome in Victoria Square, right off of Marietta Street, and actually fell in love even more with the city of Alpharetta than we had prior to. We felt like we were in town living in Harrington Falls, and then when we lived in Victoria Square, we're walking everywhere. We met actually some amazing people that live in this community actually as well. And we're like, we don't really want to move. We really want to stay put. So our family was walking, and we passed the Suttons, which is right outside of our subdivision. And we were like, let's see if we can make something work here because we would like to stay in Alpharetta as opposed to moving somewhere else.
And it's a testament to what the proclamation you had earlier with Larry Addick and the Planning Commission and the City Council had done here with downtown Alpharetta, made it so livable and so attractive for us that we want to stay.
So that's about it for us.
Do we have any questions for the applicant? Councilman Mitchell.
Thank you. That sounds wonderful. There's a lot of nice people in Victoria Square.
There are.
So you're fully aware, and I was concerned about what the mayor had asked earlier, you're fully aware of the cost, the potential cost of infiltration systems and things like that for a house the size it's a beautiful home, by the way.
Thank you.
But the one that you're proposing?
Yeah, we've met with civil engineers, and they've gone through what significant investment it will be, potentially, depending on soil tests, et cetera. So we are well aware that there may be an additional investment to make sure we comply, which we're willing to make.
Thank you. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Any other questions from council? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank y'all.
Ms. Shapiro, do we have any public comment cards on this item?
Not for this item, sir.
But if anyone would like to come forward and speak on this, now is your opportunity to do so. Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Do I have a motion from council?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd offer a motion tonight to approve the recommendation for Z-22-0, V-22-03/Wexler 182 Marietta Street, as presented tonight with the 10 recommendations from
Community Development.
Second.
Have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Merkel, and I believe Councilman Dorito by a hair was the second. Any discussion? Councilman Dorito.
Yeah, I just want to echo Councilman Mitchell's comments. It's going to be a beautiful house, and it's really going to enhance that whole area there. And I wish you the very best of luck. You seem like really nice people. So, and I appreciate the comments about Alpharetta, because it is a wonderful place to live. So I'm glad you're planning on staying here and investing in your future in Alpharetta. So thank you very much.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of approving Z-22-01/V-22-03/Wexler/182 Marietta Street with the conditions as outlined by Mr. Woodman, please vote yes. Otherwise, vote accordingly. And it does pass unanimously. Congratulations. So the next item up under public hearing will be PH-22-01 Unified Development Code text amendments. This is research, development, laboratory, athletic facility, and witness studio and driveways. Ms. Cook, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. And good evening, Council, Mayor and Council. The next item before you, changes to the Unified Development Code. It's text amendments. It's cleaning up some of the items that we've found over the last year that we have issues with. So basically, it's changes to the definition for athletic facility and fitness studio. The problem is that those definitions were one, but if you look at how they're used, they really should be separated into two different definitions. Specifically, excuse me, athletic facility, it's a larger facility. It's more of a health club. The facilities are typically located in a larger space. You think about Lifetime Fitness. And then you have a different definition for fitness studio. Those are usually the karate studios. They specialize in dance. So we've always had those as one combined definition. So the request, excuse me, is to separate those as you see as shown on the overhead. We also have a definition we're proposing for laboratory, research, and commercial. We've always listed laboratory as one of the uses within our use table, but we didn't have a definition. So this is to define and provide a definition for laboratory, which was already in our use table. We also are adding research and development. We have a lot of different master plans that allow for research and development, but we didn't have that use identified within our code. So this is providing a definition. I will add, though, that although the athletic facility and the fitness studio is just to separate those uses, the laboratory, we did not have a definition. But for research and development, we're also proposing that anywhere that office is permitted by right within a master plan, that research and development also be permitted as one of those uses. And there are several reasons for that. We've had, as businesses change and the models change over the years, it's important that planners look at those definitions to see if they're fitting the current economy. What we found is they aren't. We've had a lot of requests over the last couple of years for businesses that have lab component, but they want that lab component with the corporate office component. If you think about it, 15 years ago, they would always, if you had a lab, it was usually a separate location. So you may have a warehouse somewhere that's just life science focused, and then you have a separate corporate location for the office. But that's not what's happening now. Over the last couple of years, that's changed very much. If you think about Research Triangle Park, how they have those uses that are collaboration together. So our recommendation with that definition is that allow up to 50% of the research and development use, up to 50% would be allowed for the laboratory activities. The reason that laboratory is a separate definition is because that would cover if the entire building was being used for laboratory. That would still be something that would need to come to City Council, and that's the way that we're making that recommendation. It can be a component, it's allowed by right. If it's the entire building, excuse me, it would have to be conditional use. And are there any questions about those before I move on to the next?
Any questions from council about those? Councilman Hypes.
Yeah. Director Cook, on the athletic, try and get back to it here. Athletic facility, it talks about incidental use and lists tanning beds and massage as one of those incidental uses. As we all know, definition of massage and some spa definitions include a 2,000-foot distance requirement. What constitutes incidental use where those types of uses are allowed in a facility that may not be subject to a distance requirement?
That's another reason that we separated these uses, because we did find that Lifetime Fitnesses did have massage rooms within the Lifetime Fitness, although that's not something that you would usually see or permit or want within just a dance studio. So that's another reason that we separated the definitions. So that massage would still have to go through the criteria for getting a business license, but the massage, it would also need to be located within a true athletic facility versus just a small fitness studio.
I guess a follow-up to my question is where we have this overall definition, but it frequently includes certain types of uses that are incidental related services.
Right.
What's our definition of incidental? At what point does a use under athletic facility cease to be incidental and become more predominant, for example?
And also, you also asked about the distance requirements. So there's no distance requirements for athletic facilities.
I understand.
Yeah, so a separate spa. So it would have to be incidental, so it would have to be less than 50%. But we haven't had, an athletic facility that has more than 1-2 rooms within a massage. I mean, it's within the code, we have to interpret whether that particular use meets a definition of an athletic facility versus massage. So obviously, if something came in and it's 40% with the massage, it wouldn't meet that athletic facility definition.
Without derailing this particular ordinance proposal here, this change, if in the future the term incidental is used throughout our code in other places, and we could look to something somewhat objective to know what constitutes incidental,
sure.
It would provide clarity for anybody who's applying or whose use of a facility is sort of evolving, so that everybody agrees what's incidental and what's not.
And maybe we can, before the second reading, we could actually put in, add to that definition of what that means for that definition in between.
Thank you.
Any other questions about this portion? I see none. Kathy?
Okay. I have a few more changes that are under the supplementary regulations. And this deals with double frontage lots, that they shall obtain access from the street from the lower functional classifications unless this poses a safety hazard or would otherwise be impractical. The reason we're putting this in the code is we actually get questions for curb cuts that may not be on the lower functional classification. They want it on the main road instead of the lower classification. And when our traffic engineer tries to, go through that in traffic planning, of course, you should look for the lower classification. They want to see that within the code. So that's the reason we're putting that in here, because although it is something traditionally done, especially in a downtown, we didn't have it within our code. So it's just to clarify that that is what we're looking for when people ask for curb cuts off of the road with the lower trips. Let's see. I also have 2.5.6, and under driveway and curb cuts, This is for clarification also regarding the 300 feet required between curb cuts. Sometimes you have lots that are together that are not, the lots may only be 50 feet in width. However, everybody gets a curb cut. So this was to clarify that not, for residential lots, that you may have a curb cut that doesn't necessarily meet that 300-foot distance requirement. And Councilman Hypes had asked me about this earlier, and I do think we need to look at some better language for that. I was reading over this. So it says, a curb cut on a residential lot may be closer than 300 feet from a curb cut on an adjacent lot, but an individual residential lot shall not have more than one curb cut per 300 feet. Now, our purpose and intent was to say that if you can't meet the 300 feet, you can still have a curb cut on a residential lot, but I think probably the way this is written is just allowing it, even if you could have met the 300 feet. So I will look at some changes to add more clarity to that portion also. And then on the prohibited parking, we just, on number 3, now, you know, when this was originally written, you had very traditional subdivision developments, and you would have had just parking, maybe on unpaved streets that are in the front of the home. But now you have smaller lots that could be at the corners, so you're going to be able to see the side of the house. It may be that the back of the house is adjacent to a public road, so it's just clarification. So that code enforcement is able to address some of the codes that we have, so that it's not just the front yard, it could be unpaved on the rear or the side. And that concludes the changes that are proposed. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to try to answer those.
Does anyone on council have any questions about these proposed changes? I see none. Kathy? Mr. Stacy, would you like to read the resolution, or the ordinance? I apologize.
An ordinance to amend Article 1, Article 2, and Appendix A, Alpharetta Downtown Code of the Unified Development Code of the City of Alpharetta, Georgia, to add definitions for athletic facility, fitness studio, laboratory, and research and development, to add and amend permitted conditional and subordinate uses in the AG, agriculture, CUP, community unit plan, OI, office institutional, C1, neighborhood commercial, C2, general commercial, PSC plan, shopping center, L1, light industrial, and MU mixed-use zoning districts, in Table 2.2 list of permissible conditional uses, to add and amend permitted and conditional uses in the DTC downtown core, DTMU downtown mixed use, and DTLW downtown live work zoning districts, to add and amend supplementary and parking and loading regulations related to access driveways and prohibited parking, to repeal conflicting ordinances, and for other purposes.
Thank you very much, sir. Ms. Shapiro, do we have any public comment cards on this item?
We do not, sir.
But if anyone would like to come forward and speak on this Unified Development Code text amendment ordinance, now's your chance. Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Do I have a motion from council?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, I'd offer a motion tonight to approve as presented PH-22-01 Unified Development Code text amendment, research development laboratory, athletic facility, fitness studio, driveways, consideration of text amendments to the UDC to add definitions, uses, and regulations associated with the research and development laboratory, athletic facility, and fitness studios and driveways.
Do we have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Merkel and a second by Councilman Will? And that was to approve PH-22-01 Unified Development Code text amendments as read in the ordinance by City Attorney Mike Stacy. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please vote yes. Otherwise, vote accordingly. And it does pass unanimously. And I certainly hope I haven't left anyone hanging that was here for the next item, because I forgot to mention earlier that the applicant has withdrawn that application. It will not be discussed this evening, so I hope you're not too disappointed that we will not be hearing PH-22-02, 63 South Main Street, parking in lieu. So that'll wrap up the public hearing portion of tonight's meeting. We'll move on to new business, and the first item under new business will be Alpha Loop Downtown Link Planning Services Task Order. Director Cook, once again, you have the floor.
Thank you. This next item before you is regarding the Alpha Loop and design services for the concept for the downtown connections. Of course, the loop has proven to be a very popular resident trail, and it's also, it's a dynamic economic driver since the original conception in 2015. Several private developments have advanced the city's concept of incorporating the loop as amenity space within the new developments. And if you think about the section that we completed, the 1 mile section from downtown over to Avalon, that was something where we had a concept, but it was paid for, it was installed by the developers, and we gave impact fees for the construction. So that was an area, pretty easy area from downtown over to Avalon to figure out. It has to be along the creek. It's something that we changed mid-construction of Boise, requiring that the developer install the 12-foot wide Alpha Loop. Looking at that section was something that was easier for staff because we didn't have to weave through the downtown and look at parking lots as well as parking decks, existing alleys, easements. So the request before you for $67,538 is for Star White House in order to provide a framework plan for downtown. It's important that we have that in order to require private development when they come in, before we give them a permit, that they provide us with a needed easement. By looking at existing infrastructure in the downtown, this will be able the planners will be able to connect to Wills Park, as well as look at these intersections, Old Milton being one of those intersections. It's something that's going to be heavily used. The Alpha Loop that's between downtown and Avalon, crossing over to go to Chelsea Walk. Old Milton Parkway is going to be very heavily used, and that's not something that we've looked at, nor have we paid for a consultant to look at. So that is included within this request. And if you have any questions, I'll be glad to try to answer those.
Do we have any questions from council on this item? Seeing none. Thank you, Director Cook. Do we have any public comment cards on this item?
We do not, sir.
But if anyone would like to come forward and speak on the Alpha Loop design, now's your chance. Seeing no one, we'll close public comment. Do I have a motion from council?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, I'd offer a motion tonight to approve the Task Order 1 Downtown Alpha Link Framework Plan in the amount of $67,538,000 to Star White House under their contract for on-call planning services.
Have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Markle and a second by Councilman Hypes, and that was to approve the Alpha Loop Downtown Link Planning Services Task Order in an amount not to exceed $67,538 to Star White House under their contract for on-call planning services. Any discussion? All those in favor, please vote yes. Otherwise, vote no. And it does pass unanimously. Batting 1,000 so far, Director Cook. Next item up will be RFP 22-110, Landscape Maintenance and On-Call Construction Service for Parks. Now, why does my agenda say Director Cook? She was on a roll.
I know how you like to stick to the agenda, so if we need to do that, we can. Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, and good evening, council. It's always a pleasure to be with you tonight. We're here tonight asking for approval for the landscape maintenance and on-call construction services for parks. This is a update to a contract that is running out this fiscal year. The 5-year contract will end in May of this year, and we're asking for this to be to replace it. It is for 4 different services. One is level 1 service. We're asking that to be awarded to Crabapple Turf Management at an annual cost of $171,624. Level 2 service, to Triscapes at an annual cost of $499,901.04. Planner maintenance to Crabapple Turf Management at an annual cost of $39,861, and a one-time work on Main Street median repairs to Triscape at a one-time cost of $77,178.50. To explain those four items, level one, the level one is the high traffic areas. These are like the areas downtown and some of our parks that we expect a little higher maintenance level because of the traffic, and it is of greater content for the ornamental landscaping and plants, and therefore is a more time-consuming maintenance practice. Level two work areas are our general park areas, sports, ball fields, and play areas. The planter containers are the containers that are located throughout downtown. A total of 75 of those planters are in the downtown area. And then the 1 year of maintenance, maintenance request enhancement work is for the medians in Highway 9 that need, the medians, the dirt in the medians need to be raised, as well as additional landscaping in them. We put out a request for proposals in May 1st of 2022, got 7 vendors that responded. We had an evaluation committee that reviewed all of those proposals without the cost, and they first reviewed them for statement of qualifications, similar maintenance, landscape maintenance work provided, means and methods of providing this service. And so once those scores were done, then finance looked at the pricing. The 60% of the contract was based on those methods, with 40% being on price. After all of that was factored in, Crabapple Turf Management scored 60 out of 60 points, and Triscapes scored 57 out of the 60 for levels 1 and 2. And based on that, we're asked for approval of the contract, as I stated earlier. Be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions for Director Rogers? Must have done a terrific job. There are no questions. Thank you, sir. Ms. Shapiro, do we have any public comment cards?
We do not, sir.
But if anyone would like to come forward and speak on the landscape maintenance and on-call construction service for parks, now's your chance. Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Do I have a motion from council?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that council please award RFP 22-110 landscape maintenance and on-call construction services for parks with level 1 services to Crabapple Turf Management at an annual cost not to exceed $171,624. Level 2 services to Triscape at an annual cost not to exceed $499,901.04. Planner maintenance to Crabapple Turf Management at an annual cost not to exceed $39,861, and for a one-time expenditure for Main Street median repairs to Tri-State for a cost not to exceed $77,178.50, and the mayor to execute all necessary documents.
Second.
Have a motion by Councilman Hypes and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Merkel, and that was to approve RFP 22-110 landscape maintenance and on-call construction service for parks as outlined by staff and Councilman Hypes in the motion. All those in favor of the motion, please vote yes. Otherwise, vote no. And it does pass unanimously. So the next item up under new business will be the approval of design contract for Wacky World Restrooms at Wills Park. Director Rogers, you do have the floor on this one.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We're asking tonight for approval of a total contract of $56,580 to TSW for construction drawings and cost estimates for the design services for the restrooms located at Wacky World Playground in Wills Park. If you're familiar with this particular project, you have to go back to 2017. That's when we started the possible replacement of the restrooms at Wacky World. We called upon then TSW, who was one of our on-call design services at the time, to design restrooms, the restroom at Wacky World, as well as a replacement restroom for North Park at the quad, the 4 softball fields at North Park. And they gave us those designs. We vetted those designs and came up with a design for both of those parks. Fast forward to the 2020 budget, and in the 2020 budget, there was included money for the replacement of those 2 restrooms as part of the budget process. But a couple of days after that was approved, COVID hit. But in the meantime, we had talked to TSW about doing the construction drawings. But then, of course, COVID changed everything, and those got removed from the list. Then along came the possibility of some rescue money. Once again, those projects were on what we thought was what turned out to be a wish list, I guess, for the rescue money. And again, we had talked to TSW about those doing the construction drawings, and that money was not made available. So again, we had to put that on hold. So now that we have the bond, this year, we find ourselves in a position to move this project forward of the restrooms at Wills Park exponentially, because TSW is the design firm on record as far. They are no longer on call for us, but according to finance, we can single source of them because of their knowledge and work in the past on this particular project. So I hope I didn't confuse you too much about that, but I wanted to give you the history as to why we're moving forward on this. And we are really excited about the possibility of replacing those restrooms at Wacky World, because it is one of the most used facilities we have, and it is tired and needs to be replaced. I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Thanks, sir. Councilman Binder.
I'm so glad we have the funds available now to finally get rid of those restrooms or update them. Just from lessons learned and working together, and we've had a couple design plans where we didn't put in not to exceed this much for the design, for the construction. Did you kind of put that in there as a criteria, that we expect the construction to be within this amount?
If the contract's approved, we will meet with them and give them our expectations on as far as the design goes, and what the budget and what the design is.
Okay.
We haven't had those conversations yet because we don't want to get too far down this without.
I would just make sure that it's kind of documented, the estimated amount. I know we've seen design plans for parks that, that's not going to be within our realistic budget. So
I believe lessons learned.
Yep.
We are making part of this contract an estimate of that will be given to us at the start of the project, and then when 90% of the construction drawings, they're going to update that cost to make sure we're on track with the budget.
And within the park designs, we have several more with the bond. Is this? I know you've talked about doing kind of a modular design, not so designs look modular, but that can be replicable for other park areas. So
this
to
one
make it easier,
is larger than those can be. So this one will have to be built. Unlike the Windward, we're going to use that modular design at our smaller parks like Windward, Waters Road, Mid-Broadwell, where they make sense. But this one, as well as when we replaced the one at North Park, they're just too large to do in a modular type.
Perfect. Thanks, Director Rogers.
Councilman Dorito.
I have a quick question, Director Rogers. I know I was in some meeting you discussed about any new bathroom facilities around the parks that would look into start putting some sense of a timing mechanism on the doors so that they are locked up at a certain part in the evening, so they can't be used as hangouts and.
Sure. So one of the so let me answer the question. It sounded like I'm not going to answer your question, but I am. But we have, as soon as the bond was approved, we engaged folks from public safety to make sure that they are part of the planning process. So one of the things that they want us to do is to make sure that we have timed locks on all of our restrooms, and a way to determine that once that time has passed as to whether or not there's anyone in the restroom. So the lights will be automatically controlled. So if somebody is in that restroom and moving around after the lock, then the light will come on. So that we make sure that there is a light, a spot in that restroom that's visible from the like a parking lot where you can see whether that light is on or not.
Okay.
You can't see into the restroom, but you'll be able to see the lights on. So we appreciate our friends at Public Safety being part of the planning process and making sure that we are taking care of those issues. So that will be addressed with all future restrooms that we do.
Terrific, thank you.
You're welcome.
Director Rogers, I do have a question for you. And I know you can't give me an estimate of a facility that hasn't been designed yet. One of the concerns I had when I saw this item was we're spending $57,000 to design a bathroom. So that just seems extremely high, but I'm curious if you at least know, like, what kind of square footage is this bathroom going to be?
It's, you know, it's probably in this off the top of my head. I can't give you that square footage. I don't know if I can get any help out of the audience.
Kurt, any idea how many stalls? Or I'm just trying to visualize how many dollars a square foot we're planning to build a bathroom for to justify $57,000. And I know you're just doing the best you can. The market's changed and all that stuff, but that just seems pretty extreme for a bathroom.
Yeah, it's
design.
It's much bigger, obviously, than what's there now. It's going to take up the footprint of the existing restroom as well as the pavilion that sits beside it. If you are familiar with that pavilion that sits beside it, that restroom is then going to extend basically the footprint of both the building and that pavilion. I think there are 8 individual stalls on both sides, on both the men's and the women's sides, as well as family restrooms in the middle. So it's a good bit bigger than what it is there, but Mr. Mayor, I can't give you a square footage. I certainly can get that information, but I just don't know it off the top of my head. But I have met with, talked with our friends in okay, 2,000 square feet. So it's a big restaurant because
that is a big restaurant.
Right. But keep in mind that is one of the most used restaurant rooms in our system. It serves most of the baseball. It serves all of Wacky World, the Lions Club Pavilion, as well as the main restroom on our trail system in the park.
Thank you. That's helpful. I mean, running rough calculations, I never came close to 2,000 square feet.
Yeah, it's a big
restaurant.
Like I said, I think it's a lot bigger than most people think, because they think of that small restroom. So
I mean, that's almost of the scale at Wills Park Equestrian Center, the freestanding restroom there. Okay, it's not going to have showers though, right?
No. It is just a restroom facility.
Okay, thanks, sir.
Okay.
I appreciate it. Oh, I'm sorry. Councilman Mitchell had a question for you as well.
And I too, that seems like a lot, but I hope we can think about something that doesn't look like a bomb shelter like some of those portable things does. If we're going to spend that kind of money designing it, I'm not saying it needs to look like the Taj Mahal, but it's a structure in our park that's going to be there for 50 years, and make sure it looks like something we want to look at in a park. It doesn't have to be incredible, but also I'm sitting here thinking, like Racetrack and some of these heavily used bathrooms at convenience stores and stuff like that, they have the hoses that you can, like the hot hose that you can clean it, maintenance is thought about ahead of time. So I hope that you will do that as well, especially in some of these bathrooms that, is difficult. You're not going to have maid service there, so it needs to be as easy and readily cleanable as possible.
Absolutely. Well, certainly one of the other issue that we're real concerned about when we're designing this, besides public safety, is the maintenance, because we know that these restrooms are going to be used a lot. So yes, I can assure you that we are taking that into consideration. Now, to go back to the design the design of this particular building actually came before mayor and council back in 2018, and it's going to fit in with Wills Park. And I can certainly send that to everyone if y'all want to see what that design looked like, but it is going to fit in with Wills Park. It is not going to look like a bomb shelter. It's going to fit in very nicely with the overall view of the park.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just to follow up on that, you said the design from 2018.
Mm-hmm.
So is this the design of what we're designing?
No. So we're not designing. We're asking for construction drawings. We have a design. So what we're asking for tonight is to take that design and get us to where we can go to bid. Construction drawings, permitting, and then the cost estimate. So that's what we're asking for tonight. Design there might have been a better word for that, but we're asking for construction drawings to get us.
That's very helpful. I didn't
build that.
I didn't see that in our packet there, so that's very helpful in visualizing
So I was actually
why it would cost that much as well. So thank you.
It jumped around, but actually there's 10 on each side. I think I said 8. There are 10 on both sides. And again, if you keep in mind, that sounds like a lot, but it's not. If we're having a tournament, if we're having a tournament in there, if there's a big outing at the Lions Club, that's just not a big restroom. It's the size we need. Lions Club Pavilion. 4th of July. Yeah, 4th of July.
Okay. Thanks, sir. I do appreciate that. That helps me understand the costs involved.
Okay. Thank you.
You never thought we'd talk about toilets this long.
I'm sorry?
You never thought we would be speaking about toilets this long.
Oh, I enjoy it. I enjoy it because it really,
I'd use another word, but I won't do that.
At the end of the day, I've told people all the time, if people that come to parks, if your restrooms are clean and the trash is picked up, nobody notices. But if you don't have nice restrooms or you don't pick up the trash, everybody notices it. So we're trying to get unnoticed with this restroom.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Shapiro, do we have any public comment cards on this item?
We do not, sir.
But if anyone would like to come and speak on the restrooms at Wills Park, now is your chance. Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Do I have a motion from council?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I make a motion for approval of the contract with TSW for construction drawings and cost estimates for design services for the restrooms located at Wacky World Playground in Wills Park in an amount not to exceed $56,580 and authorize the mayor to execute all associated documents.
I have a motion by Councilman Hives, a second by Mayor Pro Tem Merkel, and that was to approve the design contract for Wacky World restrooms at Wills Park, amount not to exceed $56,580 with TSW for construction drawings and cost estimates for design services. All those in favor of the motion, please vote yes. Otherwise, vote no. And it does pass unanimously. Next item up has been deferred on my agenda, so we will not be discussing the Wills Park Maintenance Facility construction. So we will move on to the next item, which is the resolution for City Solicitor. Mr. Regas, you have the floor.
Mayor and Council, y'all know that we have been recruiting for a full-time solicitor for the city. And just to be consistent, we wanted to make sure, and Mike has crafted a resolution that the term of the solicitor is consistent with the duration of the employment of the person serving. So for clarity there. So if Mike will present the resolution.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Stacy, you have the floor.
Yes, Mayor, just to clarify, the position is an appointed position. What this does is it marries the position with the employment, the full-time employment of an employee that's been hired for that purpose, and says that the term will be coextensive with their employment, and once their employment ends and potentially a new solicitor is hired, that will start the new term. So it makes it an indefinite at-will term that gives the city some flexibility to move around in that position. So if I may, I'll read the resolution.
Please do.
A resolution of the mayor and council of the city of Alpharetta, Georgia, providing that the position of city solicitor will be occupied by a full-time at-will city employee, providing for the term of the city solicitor and for other purposes. Whereas the mayor and council of the city of Alpharetta, Georgia, the mayor and council, after thorough investigation, have determined that it is desirable, necessary, and in the best interest of the city to provide the position of Alpharetta city solicitor. The solicitor shall be occupied by a full-time at-will employee of the city, and that the term of the solicitor be consistent with the duration of the employment of the individual serving as solicitor. And whereas Section 4.18C of the Charter of the City of Alpharetta, Georgia, the charter provides the mayor and council with broad discretion to set a term of the solicitor as necessary or appropriate, and whereas the mayor and council have now approved the recruiting for a full-time at-will employee to serve as the appointed solicitor, a position for which the city is currently recruiting candidates, and whereas upon selection of a qualified candidate and acceptance by that candidate of employment and appointment to the solicitor position, such individual will be a full-time at-will employee of the city with employment benefits included, subject to appointment and termination in a manner generally consistent with other city employees. And whereas the term of the solicitor shall begin on the first day that such individual appointed to the office of solicitor begins employment, and whereas pursuant to the charter and other laws of the state of Georgia, the mayor and council have the power to adopt clearly reasonable ordinances, resolutions, and regulations for the protection and preservation of the public health, safety, and welfare of its citizens. Now therefore be it resolved by the mayor and council, and it is hereby resolved by the same, that the solicitor position will be henceforth, upon the adoption and approval of this resolution, occupied by a full-time at-will employee of the city. Be it further resolved that the term of the solicitor shall begin on the first date of such employee's employment. The term shall be coextensive with the at-will employment of such employee, and the term shall end upon termination of such employee's at-will employment.
Thank you, Mr. Stacy. Any questions about the resolution from council? Ms. Shapiro, do we have any public comment cards?
We do not, sir.
But if anyone would like to come forward and speak on the resolution regarding the city solicitor, now's your opportunity. Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Do I have a motion from council?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the resolution of the mayor and the council for the city of Alpharetta, Georgia, providing that the position of city solicitor will be occupied by a full-time at-will city employee, providing for the term of the city solicitor and for other purposes.
Second.
Have a motion by Councilman Will. I believe the second was by Councilman Dorito. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion to approve a resolution of the mayor and council of the city of Alpharetta, Georgia, providing that the position of city solicitor will be occupied by a full-time at-will city employee, providing for the term of the city solicitor and for other purposes, please vote yes, otherwise vote no. And it does pass unanimously. All right, Mr. Stacy. I do believe we have a few resolutions to authorize here. If you will, please begin.
And Mr. Mayor, these should be the final resolutions. In fact, we are in active negotiations with these property owners as with the others, and one of them we are hopeful will close on Thursday, but again, out of an abundance of caution, we're proceeding with these now to make sure that we have the necessary flexibility.
Thank you for the clarification.
A resolution of the mayor and council of the city of Alpharetta, Georgia, to authorize the use of eminent domain to acquire certain property located at 13075 Tidewater Crossing, Alpharetta, Georgia, tax parcel number 21-5680-1033-085-2 for road project McGinnis Ferry Road widening from Ronald Reagan Boulevard / Union Hill Road to Hospital Parkway, whereas the city of Alpharetta, the city in conjunction with the city of Johns Creek and Forsyth County, has determined that it is necessary to construct a road project which includes the widening of and construction of other operational improvements to a portion of McGinnis Ferry Road, such road project being known as McGinnis Ferry Road from Ronald Reagan Boulevard / Union Hill Road to Hospital Parkway project, the project, and whereas in order to construct the project, it is necessary to acquire certain rights to and over, under, through, and across the property now or formerly owned by Louis A. Ramirez, located at 13075 Tidewater Crossing, tax parcel number 21-5680-1033-085-2 within the city of Alpharetta, Georgia, reference project parcel 34, as further described and shown in Exhibit A attached here to and incorporated herein by this reference, and whereas the mayor and council consider the project and determine that the project in the use of eminent domain to acquire those certain rights to and over, under, through, and across across the foregoing property are necessary in the public interest and must be carried out expeditiously to ensure the timely completion of the project. Now therefore it is hereby resolved by the Mayor and Council of the City of Alpharetta, Georgia as follows. For public road purposes and to meet the public necessity for immediately acquiring the subject property rights which are hereby declared, the Mayor and Council authorize the City Attorney's Office to acquire through the use of eminent domain pursuant to Title 32 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated the necessary property rights to and over, under, through, and across the property located at 13075 Tidewater Crossing, tax parcel number 21-5680-1033-085-2, in order to ensure the timely completion of the project McGinnis Ferry Road from Ronald Reagan Boulevard / Union Hill Road to Hospital Parkway. Further, the Mayor and City Administrator are specifically authorized to execute on behalf of and is signed by every member of the governing authority of the City, the Mayor and Council, any and all documents necessary to further the filing of any petition for condemnation or declaration of taking related to the same and/or in furtherance of this resolution.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stacy. Is there anyone who would like to come forward and speak on this resolution? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close public comment. Do I have a motion from council?
Yes, Mayor. I move to approve resolution to authorize the use of eminent domain at 13075 Tidewater Crossing. Tidewater Crossing, Alpharetta, Georgia, tax parcel number 21-5680-1033-085-2 for a road project, McGinnis Ferry Road widening from Ronald Reagan Boulevard, Union Hill Road to Hospital Parkway.
We have a motion by Councilman Dorito, a second by Councilman Mitchell. All those in favor of the motion, please vote yes. Otherwise, vote no. And it does pass unanimously. Mr. Stacy, you have the floor.
A resolution of the Mayor and Council of the City of Alpharetta, Georgia, to authorize the use of eminent domain to acquire certain property located at 5015 Tidewater Way, Alpharetta, Georgia, tax parcel number 21-5680-1033-073-8 for road project McGinnis Ferry Road widening from Ronald Reagan Boulevard / Union Hill Road to Hospital Parkway, whereas the City of Alpharetta, the city, in conjunction with the City of Johns Creek and Forsyth County, has determined that it is necessary to construct a road project which includes the widening of and construction of other operational improvements to a portion of McGinnis Ferry Road, such road project being known as the McGinnis Ferry Road from Ronald Reagan Boulevard / Union Hill Road to Hospital Parkway project, the project, and whereas in order to construct the project, it is necessary to acquire certain rights to and over, under, through, and across the property now or formerly owned by Ladeshia Robinson, located at 5015 Tidewater Way, tax parcel number 21-5680-1033-073-8 within the City of Alpharetta, Georgia, reference project parcel 41, as further described and shown in attachment A attached here to and incorporated herein by this reference, whereas the Mayor and Council consider the project and determine that the project in the use of eminent domain to acquire those certain rights to and over, under, through, and across the foregoing property are necessary in the public interest and must be carried out expeditiously to ensure the timely completion of the project. Now, therefore, it is hereby resolved by the Mayor and Council of the City of Alpharetta, Georgia, as follows. For public road purposes and to meet the public necessity for immediately acquiring the subject property rights which are hereby declared, the Mayor and Council authorize the City Attorney's Office to acquire through the use of eminent domain pursuant to Title 32 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated the necessary property rights to and over, under, through, and across the property located at 5015 Tidewater Way, tax parcel number 21-5680-1033-073-8 in order to ensure the timely completion of the project McGinnis Ferry Road from Ronald Reagan Boulevard / Union Hill Road to Hospital Parkway. Further, the Mayor and City Administrator are specifically authorized to execute on behalf of and is signed by every member of the governing authority of the City, the Mayor and Council, any and all documents necessary for the filing of any petition for condemnation or declaration of taking related to the same and in furtherance of this resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Stacy. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak on this item? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. We'll have a motion from council.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a resolution that we authorize the use of eminent domain at 5015 Tidewater Way for tax parcel 21-5680-1033-073-8 for road projects in McGinnis Ferry, widening project from Ronald Reagan Boulevard into Union Hill Road to Hospital Parkway.
Second. Have a motion by Councilman Mitchell and a second by Councilman Binder, and that was for the resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Alpharetta, Georgia, to authorize the use of eminent domain to acquire certain property located at 5015 Tidewater Way. All those in favor of that motion and the resolution as read by City Attorney, please vote yes. Otherwise, vote no. And it does pass unanimously. Mr. Stacy, you have the floor.
Resolution of the Mayor and Council of the City of Alpharetta, Georgia, to authorize the use of eminent domain to acquire certain property located at 5035 Tidewater Way, Alpharetta, Georgia, tax parcel number 21-5680-1054-071-6 for road project McGinnis Ferry Road widening from Ronald Reagan Boulevard / Union Hill Road to Hospital Parkway. Whereas the City of Alpharetta, the city, in conjunction with the City of Johns Creek and Forsyth County, has determined that it's necessary to construct a road project which includes the widening of and construction of other operational improvements to a portion of McGinnis Ferry Road. Such road project being known as the McGinnis Ferry Road from Ronald Reagan Boulevard / Union Hill Road to Hospital Parkway project, the project, and whereas in order to construct the project, it is necessary to acquire certain rights to and over, under, through, and across the property now or formerly owned by Maria C. Morales, located at 5035 Tidewater Way, tax parcel 21-5680-1054-071-6, within the City of Alpharetta, Georgia, reference project parcel 43, as further described and shown in attachment A attached here to and incorporated herein by this reference. And whereas the Mayor and Council consider the project and determine that the project and the use of eminent domain to acquire those certain rights to and over, under, through, and across the foregoing property are necessary in the public interest and must be carried out expeditiously to ensure the timely completion of the project. Now, therefore, it is hereby resolved by the Mayor and Council of the City of Alpharetta, Georgia, as follows: for public road purposes and to meet the public necessity for immediately acquiring the subject property rights, which are hereby declared, the Mayor and Council authorize the City Attorney's Office to acquire through the use of eminent domain pursuant to Title 32 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated the necessary property rights to and over, under, through, and across the property located at 5035 Tidewater Way, tax parcel number 21-5680-1054-071-6, in order to ensure the timely completion of the project McGinnis Ferry Road from Ronald Reagan Boulevard / Union Hill Road to Hospital Parkway. Further, the Mayor and City Administrator are specifically authorized to execute on behalf of, and as if signed by every member of the governing authority of the city, the Mayor and Council, any and all documents necessary to further the filing of any petition for condemnation or declaration of taking related to the same and or in furtherance of this resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Stacy. Do we have any public comments? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Do I have a motion from council?
Mayor, I move to approve a resolution of the Mayor and Council of the City of Alpharetta, Georgia, to authorize the use of eminent domain to acquire certain property located at 5035 Tidewater Way, Alpharetta, Georgia, tax parcel number 21-5680-1054-071-6, a road project, McGinnis Ferry Road widening from Ronald Reagan Boulevard, Union Hill Road to Hospital Parkway.
Second. Have a motion by Councilman DeRito, a second by Mayor Pro Tem Merkel, and that was to approve the resolution as read by City Attorney Mike Stacy regarding the authorization, use of eminent domain for the property located at 5035 Tidewater Way. All those in favor, please vote yes. Otherwise, vote accordingly. And it does pass unanimously. Mr. Stacy?
A resolution of the Mayor and Council of the City of Alpharetta, Georgia, to authorize the use of eminent domain to acquire certain property located at 5055 Tidewater Way, Alpharetta, Georgia, tax parcel number 21-5680-1054-069-0 for road project McGinnis Ferry Road widening from Ronald Reagan Boulevard / Union Hill Road to Hospital Parkway. Whereas the City of Alpharetta, the city, in conjunction with the City of Johns Creek and Forsyth County, has determined that it's necessary to construct a road project which includes the widening of and construction of other operational improvements to a portion of McGinnis Ferry Road. Such road project being known as the McGinnis Ferry Road from Ronald Reagan Boulevard / Union Hill Road to Hospital Parkway project, the project, and whereas in order to construct the project, it is necessary to acquire certain rights to and over, under, through, and across the property now or formerly owned by Yves Jean-Pierre and Marie M. Jean-Pierre, located at 5055 Tidewater Way, tax parcel number 21-5680-1054-069-0 within the City of Alpharetta, Georgia, reference project parcel 45, as further described and shown in Exhibit A attached here to and incorporated herein by this reference. And whereas the Mayor and Council considered the project and determined that the project and the use of eminent domain to acquire those certain rights to and over, under, through, and across the foregoing property are necessary in the public interest and must be carried out expeditiously to ensure the timely completion of the project. Now, therefore, it is hereby resolved by the Mayor and Council of the City of Alpharetta, Georgia, as follows: for public road purposes and to meet the public necessity for immediately acquiring the subject property rights, which are hereby declared, the Mayor and Council authorize the City Attorney's Office to acquire through the use of eminent domain pursuant to Title 32 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated the necessary property rights to and over, under, through, and across the property located at 5055 Tidewater Way, tax parcel number 21-5680-1054-069-0 in order to ensure the timely completion of the project McGinnis Ferry Road from Ronald Reagan Boulevard / Union Hill Road to Hospital Parkway. Further, the Mayor and City Administrator are specifically authorized to execute on behalf of and as if signed by every member of the governing authority of the city, the Mayor and Council, any and all documents necessary to further the filing of any petition for condemnation or declaration of taking related to the same and or in furtherance of this resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Stacy. Do we have any public comments? Seeing no one come forward, we'll close public comment. Do I have a motion from council?
Yes, sir. I move that we approve the resolution to authorize the use of eminent domain to acquire certain property located at 5055 Tidewater Way, Alpharetta, Georgia, tax parcel number 21-5680-1054-069-0 for a road project McGinnis Ferry Road widening from Ronald Reagan Boulevard, Union Hill Road to Hospital Parkway.
Have a motion by Councilman Binder, a second by Councilman Hypes, and that was to approve the resolution authorizing the mayor and city council of the city of Alpharetta, Georgia, authorize the use of eminent domain to acquire certain property located at 5055 Tidewater Way. All those in favor, please vote yes. Otherwise, vote no. And it does pass unanimously. Mr. Stacy.
A resolution of the mayor and council of the city of Alpharetta, Georgia, to authorize the use of eminent domain to acquire certain property located at 13013 Dartmoor Avenue, Alpharetta, Georgia, tax parcel number 21-5680-1054-096-3 for road project McGinnis Ferry Road widening from Ronald Reagan Boulevard / Union Hill Road to Hospital Parkway, whereas the city of Alpharetta, the city, in conjunction with the city of Johns Creek and Forsyth County, has determined that it is necessary to construct a road project which includes the widening of and construction of other operational improvements to a portion of McGinnis Ferry Road, such road project being known as the McGinnis Ferry Road from Ronald Reagan Boulevard / Union Hill Road to Hospital Parkway project, the project, and whereas in order to construct the project, it is necessary to acquire certain rights to and over, under, through, and across the property now or formerly owned by Sandeep Dahor and Sanigita Dahor, located at 13013 Dartmoor Avenue, tax parcel number 21-5680-1054-096-3 within the city of Alpharetta, Georgia. Reference project parcel 56 is further described and shown in attachment A attached here to and incorporated herein by this reference. And whereas the mayor and council have considered the project and determined that the project and the use of eminent domain to acquire those certain rights to and over, under, through, and across the foregoing property are necessary in the public interest and must be carried out expeditiously to ensure the timely completion of the project. Now, therefore, it is hereby resolved by the mayor and council of the city of Alpharetta, Georgia, as follows: for public road purposes and to meet the public necessity for immediately acquiring the subject property rights, which are hereby declared, the mayor and council authorize the city attorney's office to acquire through the use of eminent domain pursuant to Title 32 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated, the necessary property rights to and over, under, through, and across the property located at 13013 Dartmoor Avenue, Alpharetta, Georgia, tax parcel number 21-5680-1054-096-3, in order to ensure the timely completion of the project McGinnis Ferry Road from Ronald Reagan Boulevard / Union Hill Road to Hospital Parkway. Further, the mayor and city administrator are specifically authorized to execute on behalf of and is signed by every member of the governing authority of the city, the mayor and council, any and all documents necessary to further the filing of any petition for condemnation or declaration of taking related to the same and or in furtherance of this resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Stacy. Any public comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Do I have a motion from council?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, I'd offer a motion to approve the resolution to authorize the use of eminent domain at 13013 Dartmoor Avenue, as was presented to us this evening.
Do we have a second? Have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Merkel and a second by Councilman Will, and that was to approve the resolution of the mayor and city council of Alpharetta, Georgia, to authorize the use of eminent domain to acquire certain property located at 13013 Dartmoor Avenue. All in favor, please vote yes. Otherwise, vote no. And it does pass unanimously. Mr. Stacy, I believe you have one more resolution to read.
A resolution of the mayor and council of the city of Alpharetta, Georgia, to authorize the use of eminent domain to acquire certain property located at 13033 Dartmoor Circle, Alpharetta, Georgia, tax parcel number 21-5680-1054-091-4 for road project McGinnis Ferry Road widening from Ronald Reagan Boulevard / Union Hill Road to Hospital Parkway. Whereas the city of Alpharetta, the city, in conjunction with the city of Johns Creek and Forsyth County, has determined that it is necessary to construct a road project which includes the widening of and construction of other operational improvements to a portion of McGinnis Ferry Road, such road project being known as the McGinnis Ferry Road from Ronald Reagan Boulevard / Union Hill Road to Hospital Parkway project, the project. And whereas in order to construct the project, it is necessary to acquire certain rights to and over, under, through, and across the property now or formerly owned by Srinivas S. Halambar and Sushma Mahashetty, located at 13033 Dartmoor Circle, tax parcel number 21-5680-1054-091-4 within the city of Alpharetta, Georgia. Reference project parcel 51 is further described and shown in attachment A attached hereto and incorporated herein by this reference. And whereas the mayor and council considered the project and determined that the project and the use of eminent domain to acquire those certain rights to and over, under, through, and across the foregoing property are necessary in the public interest and must be carried out expeditiously to ensure the timely completion of the project. Now, therefore, it is hereby resolved by the mayor and council of the city of Alpharetta, Georgia, as follows: for public road purposes and to meet the public necessity for immediately acquiring the subject property rights, which are hereby declared, the mayor and council authorize the city attorney's office to acquire the use of eminent domain pursuant to Title 32 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated, the necessary property rights to and over, under, through, and across the property located at 13033 Dartmoor Circle, Alpharetta, Georgia, tax parcel number 21-5680-1054-091-4, in order to ensure the timely completion of the project McGinnis Ferry Road from Ronald Reagan Boulevard / Union Hill Road to Hospital Parkway. Further, the mayor and city administrator are specifically authorized to execute on behalf of and is signed by every member of the governing authority of the city, the mayor and council, any and all documents necessary to further the filing of any petition for condemnation or declaration of taking related to the same and or in furtherance of this resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Stacy. Is there any public that would like to comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll close public comment, and I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve a resolution of the Mayor and Council of the City of Alpharetta, Georgia, authorize the use of eminent domain to acquire certain property located at 13033 Dartmoor Circle, Alpharetta, Georgia, tax parcel number 2156801054091-4 for road project McGinnis Ferry Road widening from Ronald Reagan Boulevard, Union Hill Road to Hospital Parkway.
Have a motion by Councilman Will, a second by Councilman Hypes. All those in favor of the motion to approve a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of Alpharetta, Georgia, to authorize the use of eminent domain to acquire certain property located at 13033 Dartmoor Circle, please vote yes. Otherwise, vote no. And it does pass unanimously. So, ladies and gentlemen, that will bring us to the end of our new business portion of tonight's meeting. We'll begin with the public comment. Ms. Shapiro, do we have any public comment cards tonight?
We do, sir. We have a Mr. Zane from 502 Bass Chase Northwest. If you'd like to come forward and speak into this podium here and this mic there to address Mayor and Council, and just state your first and last name.
Yes.
Again for the record.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and gentlemen of the City Council. My name is Qolam Zainalian. And on January 13, I received a call from Sergeant Hoffman informing me of a criminal trespass filed against me, which I haven't broken any law. But I requested for the police report, and the only two items that are true on the police report are my last name and line 2 that Sergeant Hoffman says, upon arrival, I met with office manager. Everything else is a lie. Not only that, Sergeant Hoffman has proved his impartiality by adding false claims to the report. He claims that he has a picture of several of my emails, which don't exist. I asked him for proof. I talked to Captain Simpson. He said and Mrs. Williams, the director of the police records, they said that they couldn't give me, even though I paid for them, they wouldn't give me the 911 call. They gave me the 911 call, but all the names are deleted. And the police report is all blackened out. It's not worth the paper it's written on. And they have thrown several Georgia law enforcement officers' codes to discourage me from pursuing the case. I was given the codes. I don't think, I was told I have only 3 minutes. I have the definition of the codes. None of them apply. They're completely irrelevant. They try to justify the blacking out the name of my accusers. By the way, the police report, they claim that they have blacked out name of the accusers for security of accusers. However, the name of the lady that I'm accused of stalking is right there. So who are they protecting? I know there is a misconception that naturalized American citizens don't know their rights if they wanted to defend them, but thank God for attorneys. We can always hire a legal expert. I have had several conversations with Captain Simpson. I talked to Mrs. Williams once. She never answered any of my calls. I have talked to other police departments and an attorney. And as I brought to your attention, I would love to share this with you. The codes that they are using to justify denying me the body cam video and the police report, complete police report are completely irrelevant, have nothing to do. One of the excuses that they're using to justify their cover-up is calling the 911 caller confidential informant. I can assure you, as personal experience that I'm not at the liberty to elaborate on, a 911 caller is not considered confidential informant and doesn't have the protection of the law. If anybody who picks up the phone and calls 911 and make a false accusation was considered confidential informant, where would we be now? Confidential informant, by definition, is someone who is cooperating with the law enforcement, not calling 911. I know I have accent, my name is extremely difficult to pronounce, but I've been here for decades. I know better. I do not appreciate this. I do not appreciate this bias from police. I called Sergeant Hoffman when he ran out of justification and excuses. He said that I was being argumentative and hung up the phone. Seriously? 21st century United States of America? None of these informations, claims on the police report are correct. None of them. Like I said, the only correct information is my last name, and the second line that Sergeant Hoffman says he met the office manager. I am pursuing the office manager through other avenues, but I do need the full report, as I'm entitled by law to confront my accusers. I do not appreciate this bias in the police department and the records department of look at me from their nose and thinking that just because I have accent, I don't know what's going on. I sincerely and politely request from all of you gentlemen and Ms. Shapiro to tell the police record to release the information and the 911 and the body cam. They're claiming that they cannot release the body cam, which they claim most of the documents are recorded in, because the office manager in a dental practice is considered private space. Really? Like I said, I may not know all the law, but there are tons of attorneys who do, and they have given me all the information. I'm just expecting your assistance in this matter.
This is public comment. I've given you more than the 3 minutes already. That. This isn't a back and forth. I assure you we take any complaints about our city employees, regardless of...
No. This is about the police report.
I understand. Listen to what I'm saying.
Yes, sir.
I said, anytime we have a member of the public reach out to us, we investigate.
I appreciate that.
Whether it's the police department, whether it's a complaint about a building inspector, we take those things seriously.
I appreciate that.
And I'm personally offended by the fact that you believe it was because of your race. More than 30%. I know. Well, you said you have a funny name and funny accent, and I'm telling you now, 30% of our residents were not born in the United States of America. And everybody on this dais and everybody that's on our police department swears an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States. I take that job very seriously.
Correct.
I assure you will continue to investigate.
How long should I wait for the results? I need it for my legal procedures.
I'm not going to give you a time.
A week, a month, a year, decade?
Sir, I can't tell you because I don't know. I will take as long as I need to.
Forgive my ignorance, but what is it exactly that takes you time?
Sir, we're done. This isn't a back and forth. You've made your comment. I've explained to you.
And you
what
don't
we
know
will-
how long it's going to take you.
Sir, I've already explained to you. I don't know how long it will take. I will respond as quickly as I have the information.
Do you have my contact information?
You gave us your name and address, and I assume on that police report,
By the
there's
way,
a phone
I
number
did
for
leave
you.
a couple of messages myself, but I'm sure you're too busy to answer to every single call.
Once again, I give those phone calls that have concerns about things like you're discussing to the people who can investigate, because I wasn't there. I'm not a law enforcement officer. So when I get a voicemail or an email about a concern like yours, I pass it along to our police department.
That's the source of the problem. Thank you, sir. I appreciate your time.
You're quite welcome, sir. So that'll wrap up public comment this evening. Do we have any reports? Councilman Hypes.
2 years ago, we were going into some very uncertain times. If you think back 2 years ago this week, didn't really know what the next week was going to hold. And then a year ago, we were going through some difficult times in terms of, how open the city can interact with things and people being comfortable. But it is a new day in the city of Alpharetta. We have weathered those difficult times, and Saturday, the farmers market returns to downtown Alpharetta. Back to normalcy. That is my report.
Any other council reports? Councilman DeRito.
Yes, Mayor. Just for the council's awareness, and I want to take this opportunity to appreciate a number of our staff, James Drinkard, Pete Suchevitz, and Kathy Cook. We had a meeting here in the council chambers last Thursday evening around 7 o'clock with the folks from that have concerns about stormwater drainage over Milton Estates and Milton Brook Hills and Milton Glen. I want to thank James and Pete and Kathy for doing a superb job in outlining the framework that James presented to the council here, I guess a few meetings ago. We had a good attendance from the community, very positive feedback. I think the residents seemed to be very thankful for how we're reacting to their concerns. I spoke on behalf of the mayor and council that we're all here doing what we can to address the issues that they have concerns on. And I really just want to thank the staff. They were well prepared. They did an excellent presentation, and we're very honest with the residents as to what we can and cannot do. And so I just want to make you aware of it. We are still obviously going to have future meetings with them as well, but it went really well. And want to thank the staff for a superb job.
Thank you, sir. Any other reports? Director Robinson, would you like to come forward and address the comments that were made earlier?
Good evening. Just make 3 quick points regarding what the gentleman shared. Number one, this was a criminal trespass case, and just so you know, there's not really much of an investigation that happens in that case. If someone that owns a private establishment wants somebody removed from their property, they have every right to do that regardless of the reason, and that's what this call was about. And our officers went out and made sure that he was criminal trespass and was not going to come back to the property under those circumstances. Number two, he referred to redactions in the report. We have to follow strict federal guidelines when it comes to what names are redacted. That's not our choice. Those are guidelines that we follow federally from FOIA. And number three, Captain Simpson, as he mentioned, has looked into his accusations. However, he raised the bar a little bit tonight with the accusation based on nationality and race, and I can assure you we take things like that seriously, and if there's a complaint there on that, we'll be sure and follow up and investigate that thoroughly. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. If there are no other reports, then I'm excited to tell you that I would request a motion to adjourn into executive session.
Motion to adjourn to executive.
Just doesn't sound right.
We have a motion by Councilman Hypes, a second by Councilman Binder. All those in favor of adjourning into executive session, please vote yes, otherwise vote accordingly. And we are adjourned, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your patience.